Hello and welcome to YHTV's Trinity of Life. This is episode 32. I'm Christina Suzuma, your host of this program. Thank you so much for joining me again as I continue to explore the wonderful world of healing arts, meditation, therapies, and the many modalities of helping each of us find balance in our individual journeys. We're also always so excited to meet those of you who are on the leading edge of creating change on this planet. Our special guest today has been a part of our Virtual World Yoga and Meditation Conference for the past 3 years. And now she is the visionary and master intuitive for our new bi-weekly program, Flowing into Awareness with Anatara. Anatara has been offering intuitive readings, which she calls angel listenings, and spiritual counseling for over 25 years to clients throughout the US, Canada, and Europe. But that is not all she does. And today we're about to find out the other modalities that she offers her clients. So let us welcome Anatara.
Good morning, Christina.
Hello, Anatara. How are you this bright, beautiful Halloween morning?
I am well, even though where I am, it's rainy and dark and very spooky.
Oh, we're actually foggy down here in LA, which was very interesting. Brilliant timing for Halloween, I think. Oh, so much spookiness happening all around the planet with what's happening over in the East Coast of Canada and the US, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been very intense weather-wise and energy-wise, for the Earth and for her, inhabitants.
I mean, we know you as the intuitive. And recently we have found out of the other modalities that you offer your clients and other individuals. Can you share a little bit about those with us?
Of course. I think the main other modality that I offer to friends, clients, people is colon hydrotherapy, sometimes known as colonics, sometimes known as colon irrigation. And what I have found about it, I mean, literally what it is that through very sterile instruments, we introduce water into the colon, let the water dissolve into and flow into the colon, and then the water comes out, it's released, and with it comes all of the excess food waste that we're carrying in our colons. And I'm going to come back to a description of what it is sort of actually or physically in a minute. But what I have found about it is that in order for us to be full on participatory beings in our lives, the body needs to function, the mind can function with the body, and especially our emotions and our spirits need to be involved in the undertaking of being alive. And when any one of those systems becomes clogged or blocked or it doesn't function at its peak ability, then all of the other systems start to decrease and diminish and eventually fail themselves. It's truly a matter of making all parts of ourselves work in unison, work in tandem, and work creatively with all the other parts that makes our lives whole and allows us to be, as I said a minute ago, creative, abundant, even just physically and emotionally happy. And so when I'm working with a client intuitively, I can often sense the log jams, so to speak. That's a pun in terms of colonics, but we jam ourselves up with thoughts that don't work, and we jam ourselves up with ideas that don't work, and we jam ourselves up with by closing ourselves physically. And when we are closed off, we are not releasing and relaxing and eliminating not only the mental, debris, but the physical debris. And there can be reasons why the physical debris is being held in our bodies, and there are reasons why the emotional and mental debris is being held in our minds and therefore in our bodies. So in order to create a whole package, a whole system for release and for opening and expansion into who we are, which is my ultimate goal for myself and everyone else, we need to work sometimes just with the physical, or it appears that we're working just with the physical. So in the way we eat and in the times that times of the world with all the pesticides and the genetically modified food out there, and just everything that's in the atmosphere that we can't avoid as human individuals, no matter where we are on the planet, the body is constantly receiving toxins. It's receiving things that the natural elimination systems cannot cope with. They can't get rid of it. And since the colon is literally the waste basket of the body, it's it's really valid and really important that we help it flow, we help it empty, we help it clean, we help it release the toxins, both physical and other. So through the introduction of water into the colon, we allow the things that are stuck and snagged and coating the inside of the colon to mix and blend with beautiful, gentle, warm water and to flow out.
Mhm.
And as we release the toxins and also just the built up food waste that can accumulate over the years, we allow the physical systems to work in their waste elimination and in their release, and we allow the emotional to be participate in that and to follow. It's really quite a symbiotic relationship in which we can't really extract the feelings about who we are and the spiritual side of who we are from the physicality of who we are.
Mm.
And we do have a tendency with the kind of diets that we eat, and this is fairly universal. I would imagine that there are some people that are living still very close to the land, hunting and gathering, who are not as glommed up, as glopped up, as sticky as we are in much of the world. And their colons probably function very, very well, which means that there will be other parts of their essences and other parts of their awareness that function well as well. Um, what happens when the colon is congested is that literally a mucus builds up, a plaque builds up, a substances get held there that, because they're not moving through the colon, continue to toxify us. They continue to poison us. And as well as doing that, they make it impossible for what is going through us to come out in a timely way.
Well, I always say to people, have you ever had like a stuck drain, like
Mm.
a drain in your kitchen sink that is stuck and it's clogged, and nothing really goes through, not the Drainos, not the enzymes, they just don't work
Mhm.
anymore, and the plunger might loosen it up just a little bit. And if you get the plumber in and he detaches that drain, which is usually a good, 2 inch, inch and a half to 2 inch diameter, all you're going to see is this little pinhole inside that drain pipe. So if you can imagine how many feet of colon that we have in our bodies,
Mhm.
as the years go on, it's like that kitchen sink pipe that keeps getting layer upon layer of the greases and the oils, and really what goes down our kitchen sink, most of it is what we're also intaking because of the pastas, the
Exactly.
oils. It's really the same because we do our dishes in the sink. Well, most of us only do dishes in our sink, right? And that's almost the same thing that is happening in our colons, wouldn't you think?
Oh, I agree completely, and that's a beautiful image. I like a perfect analogy for what I was trying to explain. So the basic idea here is that we have waste. We wash that waste, and we want that waste to continue to go through and not get stuck anywhere. We want to be empty. We want to be empty, literally in our colons, so that our organs can eliminate into the colon the way they're meant to. We can absorb the nutrients and the moisture that we are meant to absorb through the colon, and that that we function in a way that makes us feel flowing and free.
Mm.
You know, so much of what we eat and what we do makes us feel, we feel bogged down. We feel heavy. We feel almost grossly um, oh, attached in a way that we can't just jump up and go. And a lot of that comes from stagnancy in the colon, stagnancy in the mind, stagnancy in the heart, in the
Mhm.
spirit. So water. I want to speak about water for a minute because we know that water has memory. We know that we can program water. We know that we can ask water to help us. We know that we can ask water to be creative and to make certain things happen. And what the colon is asking for, what our essences are asking for, are to be washed, to be cleansed, to be given a beautiful lavage with warm, flowing water. So much of what happens for us in the colon as well is that we become dry. We are desiccated. We're
Mhm.
we're we're dehydrated. Our cells are dehydrated. Our thoughts are dehydrated. We're stagnant in that way that we're just too dry. And we introduce water into our systems, and the water helps us relax. It helps us let go of the things that we're holding. In terms of sort of I don't know what word to use, but in terms of a way to really look at what the colon is about, from a perspective of our being human, the colon it holds on to fear. The colon holds on to things from the past that we don't want to let go of. It's about the things that have gone on for us that we're not ready to release, that for some reason we're still attached to, that for some reason we're afraid to be without. And as those things build in the mind, as those feelings build in the heart, they tend to back up as well in the colon. And so not only are our sort of higher systems not functioning, but the body isn't functioning either.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
So when you have a colonic, you are giving yourself the opportunity to find some of those things, to feel some of those things, and to release them.
Mhm.
A- and there are very frequently extreme emotional responses, to colon hydrotherapy. People don't know why all of a sudden they're feeling very, very emotional, or why they remember an incident from their past, or why they just feel vulnerable. And it's because the clogs are being loosened. The
And boy,
clogs,
are there clogs depending on how long you've been on this planet, right?
exactly.
What your diet is, even if you are a vegetarian and had a
Mm.
clean diet and have a clean diet, there are always things. I mean, I have seen amazing, amazing things come through that. And it's not on a one off deal, is it?
No, no, not at all. It's if you wanted to really immaculately clean your colon, it would require, a week or so of fasting and a colonic every day. And
Hmm.
then you would get right back to the essence of the cells in your colon. And you would get right back to the essence almost of who you are and who you can be. People talk but it's not required that anyone go that extensively into colonics. But people say that they not only feel physically lighter, but that everything about them is lighter. Their hearts are lighter, their emotions are lighter. They feel more able to engage, more able to act,
Hmm.
more able
Hmm.
to participate. It's really about finding the lightness of
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm. It's so amazing. I've years ago I was introduced to colonics because I was a little too. I used to love fasting,
Mhm.
and I was told at one point by one of my mentors, "You may not want to fast this time." And I'm going, "Why? It's done so well." You're too slim, already.
Mhm.
You'll lose too much weight because every time it's about 3 or 4 pounds. And he felt at that time that 3 or 4 pounds on me was necessary, I guess. So he said, instead, why not cleanse with colonics?
Mhm.
I thought, I've heard of it, da da da, and I've met some people who've done it. And, it's really for me, being a body worker.
Mm.
When another individual is working on us, they really truly need to have a very clean body themselves,
Mhm.
and very, to a certain point, very balanced. And they have to, that's part of their job, is to keep balance. Like, as a
Mhm.
body worker, it's part of my job to keep balance, to keep
Mhm.
clean, as much as possible when I'm working on people. So energetically, when I touch their bodies, etc., I'm not passing on any toxins and
Mhm.
negativity. I mean, we all carry it,
Yeah,
toxins
yeah.
and all, for the rest of our life. I mean, we're just human. But it was very interesting because, and I was very scared of colonics on
Mhm.
Atara. I was like, I don't know about this. And here's this stranger. And how is this all connected up into my colon? Well, there's only one pipe that's going to connect through there. And, and of course,
Mhm.
many of my male clients are very leery of it, of course, very,
Mhm.
even much more fearful.
Mhm.
Um, but I have to say, the first, six, because I had a series of six done, and it was amazing. The
Mm.
clarity
Mm.
of not just the stomach. I mean, I never held a lot of weight, period.
Mhm.
Um, but the clarity, as you say, the lightness,
Mhm.
the clarity, because I wasn't fasting, so to say, on
Mhm.
just, herbal teas and water.
Mhm.
I was getting my nutrients. I was getting my supplements. I was getting my vegetables and my fruit. But the what it released out of my body, the years and years, and the more, of course, you go,
Mhm.
the layers just is like the unlayering of the onion, right? The layers
Mhm.
and layers that start to peel off.
Mhm.
The deeper that water is able to go, the more your stomach's able to be filled with that water, which is, in the beginning, it's so uncomfortable. The body tenses. Then you got to go, oh, wow, this is like uncomfortable because I feel like my body's bloated out. But as you
Mhm.
relax into it in time, especially if you have someone wonderful like yourself
Mhm.
doing the procedure with the massage, with the energy, it's amazing
Mhm.
how far your stomach can extend out with that water. And the further it does, you can literally see what's
It's true.
coming out. It's
Oh, it's
amazing.
yes, it's true. We can actually watch flowing out through the release tube what's coming out of the colon. I love so many of the points that you make, Christina. And first, we'll talk about the fear. It's not a natural thing to have a stranger be messing around in quotations with your anus. That's odd. That's strange. And we have a sense of that defines our bodies and defines our limits of who we are and what we will allow. And this for most people goes beyond that. When someone comes into my office, I often say, you've made the bravest choice already. You're here.
Yeah.
You have decided to try this. You have heard something, or you're believing something from inside that says, this is what I need and this will help me. And I really like to encourage people to honor themselves for that,
Mhm.
because the physicality of it, the steps, the first step is a very strange one. And to be even more, direct, the anus is not used to opening from the outside. It doesn't like to be natural in a natural way. It doesn't like to be penetrated.
Mhm.
There's a resistance there. But with the kind of speculum that we use, that we introduce, with the lubrication, it's not that bad, and
Mhm.
it's very easy for someone to literally just to take a breath and to relax and to take their time in allowing the insertion of the speculum. So
Right.
once you get through that, the rest of it is not always comfortable, as you've mentioned, but it's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
And the way I work with my treatments is that I allow each individual to decide how much water they want to take in and when they
Mhm.
want to release it. So when they feel full, we release it, and we just do a continued series of filling and releasing, filling with warm water that soaks and relaxes, and then relaxing even further as they release. And when you mentioned someone like me giving the treatment, it is definitely a positive thing that I am a happy person, that I'm non-threatening in appearance and in manner, and that I can express, sort of care and literally sort of the love of the universe as I do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that as we go through the steps of the actual treatment, the sharing that emerges from the individuals, in my care is profound. And they themselves are taken to a place of freedom and safety because they've allowed themselves to allow me to do something that seems intimate, physically intimate. So if that's okay, then perhaps it's okay to share some of the other intimate things that are going on for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And is that what you've experienced?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. I
Mm.
mean, that the working with colon hydrotherapy was always something that I was about to venture into as well. So because some of the work I do is through the foot soaks, the actual foot soaks with the ionizer, things like that, and through that, because you're stirring up the energies of a person's body
Mhm.
because of the releases of the toxins coming through the feet, which of course there have been some studies that have said, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't do that. But of course it does. Anytime
Mhm.
you have energy upon energy with water, again, with
Yes.
water, creating that flow, because our bodies are made up of at least 75% water in our adult years. I mean, how do people think we were developed in the fetus as a fetus, in water, right? Anytime you have that water as that connector, it is unbelievable. And it's not
Mhm.
about what it can cure.
No.
It's not anywhere near about what it can cure. It's about cleansing. It's about
Mhm.
detoxifying the body.
Mm.
And if other symptoms, like for example, with my mother in her 80s, was the first time I introduced her to colonics. She had issues with incontinence.
Mm.
6 children.
Mhm.
By the time you hit your 80s, she was doing pretty good. And after a series of 3 or 4, it no longer appeared.
Mm.
You see, so those were the blessings on the side, but the
Mhm.
cleansing of her body and the clarity of mind, and as you say, the releasing of some very, very old, stuck emotional
Mm.
pieces started to come to the surface. And she herself said, I don't know why I remember this.
Mhm.
And I go, well, how wonderful that you do. Now you are able to face it because it's another time of your life. You're able to face it and
Mhm.
release it. Of course, in your 80s, a lot of my clients who are in the 80s and 90s is like, oh, I'm so done. I'm not holding on to any of this stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but yes, yes, absolutely. And for myself too, it's like that lightness gave me the freedom to just take the breath you just did and
Ex
just let it
exactly.
go.
Exactly. And I actually work with, individuals with their breath as we're giving the treatment,
Hmm.
with the gentle massage of the abdomen, with the breath, with allowing them the moment in their day where they can acknowledge what's really going on. And with the water pulling out the things that have become clogged on all these levels we've been talking about, the having a moment in which you can acknowledge that, and you can say, oh yeah, I feel that. It's a blessing. It's a beautiful blessing. I find that almost everyone that leaves my office gives me a hug when they leave.
That's great.
And it's that professional. It's not about being professionalized. It's not about curing. It's about the detoxing, the eliminating, the releasing, the finding a way to let yourself flow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let everything flow.
Hmm. Yes.
And there's a kind of a resonance to, I was talking about water before, but there's a resonance to the water. And I also find that intuitively and instinctually, I can direct the water to assist a particular client about a certain issue.
Mm.
I can sort of, it's not an invocation, but it's a request or an asking of the water to help an individual with something specific. And
Hmm.
as the clients go through a series of treatments with me, and I know more about who they are and more about their family or more about what's up for them, as they share in that very beautiful and open way that's possible with the level of trust we receive, I can then offer more from the other realms that also assist them in their dynamic change, subtle and dynamic change. So it's a, in terms of what the different things that I do, this rounds out what I offer. One of the way in which I can offer things, and my love of water, of course, helps.
Uh, yes, I mean, water is so magnificent. I wish people really knew how magnificent it is, isn't it right? Um, Now, a question came in. How do your bowel movements change after a series of colonics?
Okay. So there are a couple very specific things about this. Often when we fully empty the colon because our digestive systems aren't working as fully and dynamically and as quickly as they should. It may take two days or so before the food waste makes its way down through your intestines and through your colon and out. Some people, however, because they did get rid of something major emotionally and physically, a block of some kind, they will immediately start to have more regular bowel movements. I would say that most people that come to see me tend toward the side of either being constipated or having diarrhea, both which signal, um, you know, um, a state of tone and a state of existence, including the flora in the colon that's not appropriate. It's not right. It's not healthy.
Hmm.
So after a series, what people will find usually is that their digestion has improved, their elimination has improved or is improving, and more than anything, though, they are far more aware of how what they eat does to their bodies. And
Uh, Especially when you see what floats out of that tube.
that's it. And we talk a lot about the fiber content. We talk a lot about chewing. We talk about what people eat. I am always giving people information about how to modify what they want. What they're doing about food if they need to. So there are many, many, many elements to this, and um, just doing colonics is really going to help. It's really going to, get rid of a lot of those things that are clogging you up. And it needs to be followed with a consciousness adjustment, a consciousness opening to what you can eat that will really help your digestion.
Mm,
And this is going to be different for every person. I literally insist that after a person has even just one colonic, that they find themselves a very, very good source of human microflora to take, of human
mhm,
probiotics, because we are cleaning out the colon and we're eliminating certain kinds of bacteria and viruses and parasites and yeasts, funguses. And we want to put back in the right flora that allows the colon to keep itself fresh and allows the colon to keep those things from growing and expanding.
mhm,
So there are many lines of defense, as we go through this, but it is about deciding that you want to make a difference, and
mm,
deciding that you want to change things about yourself.
mm, mm. That's
The,
a great point. And about the probiotics and uh,
mhm,
really strengthening that system, because
mhm,
so much, as they say, so much of our colds and
mm,
diseases or illnesses really stem from our colon. I know that, when our staff here or
do.
even us, our child, when
Mm,
any sign of anything starts to happen, what do? The first thing is, the probiotics.
uh-huh.
And of course, we have a very, very strong one here at Yoga Hub. That
Oh,
is,
great.
yes, yes, that you really, I mean, cannot find outside. So
Ah,
it's magnificent to have it, and I know that I have so many of my clients and family members on it for
mm.
a series of time, especially through the winter months. When the immune system is down, it just really builds that immune system back up.
Oh,
You
it
know.
does. It allows the body to have the basic defense that it needs to fight things off.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. The
Truly.
basic defense. Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes.
And it's just it's primordial how important it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really speaks to our bodies. I wanted to say something about the actual um, physiology of the colon.
Hmm.
And when you see your colon, if you look down at your body, imagine, in the right lower quadrant, where you know your appendix is. That's where the colon starts, and it makes sort of like a bridge. It comes up the right side of your body, crosses over fairly close to where your belly button is, and then it goes down your left side and then connects with your rectum, and the elimination happens through there. And it is a very elastic um, creation. It's an elastic organ in a way, and I do like to think of the colon as being an organ of sorts. And it can become tight. As I said, can become dehydrated. It can become misshapen because the foods that we're eating are not flowing through the way they're meant to. But in its essence, it is a very elastic thing that can expand and contract. So as we put the water into it and we allow it that gentle offering of an opening, it does balloon out. You were talking about how you look down and your abdomen's ballooning. It balloons out. It becomes larger, and if you're slender, you can see it happen. When I have a colonic and I look down, I watch my whole abdomen become distended as I feel the water fill it, and then I feel it release and go back to its normal size as it empties.
Right.
So when we put the water in, we are soaking into every cell of the colon that is not usually expanded. Every cell of the colon, all the little folds and nooks and crannies that don't have even the opportunity to open and release and eliminate. So we give it this expansion with this water, and then we let it flush. We let the peristalsis work to empty. For many people who are constipated, who have sluggish colons, who have any number of things going on in their colons, the peristalsis, the what we feel as cramping, the working of the colon, the muscles, they aren't functioning. They can't. They've lost their ability, their memory of how that is. And with a series of colonics, we retrain the
I
colon
love
how to
that.
work.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
we retrained the mind of how it's supposed to feel, and we retrained the colon how to do its elimination and do what we so badly need it to do for us.
Hmm. That's a great, great explanation. And what a great metaphor, because it's like the minute you step in to have your colonic, you're already beginning to retrain your mind.
Completely.
Right, from all that fear base of what is this, what's going to happen to me, and you can hear all the wonderful things, but it's still that real fear of, oh, and what's going to happen to me now, and how's this going to be, and how am I going to feel after, and blah 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 blah, that little birdie talking blah blah blah, blah, blah in our
That's
ear. Right, I mean, really, the first moment you step in, you've already begun.
You've begun when you make the call to make an appointment.
Hmm.
When you have decided that you're going to try this for whatever reason, your practitioner recommended it, you saw it online, someone tried it and said you have to do this, whatever the reason. I'd like to emphasize that deciding to have a colonic it's really about acknowledging yourself. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about deciding that there's nothing too weird or too hinky or too strange to to do for yourself. That this will be beneficial in all ways, that this will help you release and cleanse and detoxify your mind, your emotions, your colon, your digestive system, and that you're worth it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I really believe that there would be a lot less colon troubles,
Yeah.
and that extends to all manner of things in this world if this were a regular thing that
Hmm.
we started doing with kids and teenagers,
Oh,
that
absolutely.
continued throughout their lives.
Yes, yes, I agree. It's something that I've really noticed with individuals as they're getting older. You know how they say, oh, people get crabby or cranky and grumpy as they get older, and it could be many, many factors.
Mhm.
But when you actually look at the physique of the person and you see that that extended, pot belly or whatever they want to call it, you
Mhm.
know, I mean, there's so much stuck in that area. And it's so
Mm.
related that,
Yes.
as more gets stuck, there's no viable movement anymore because,
Wow.
and then of course, as we get older, there's more flatulence and, you know, and people
And
wonder why, oh, I'm just getting older. No, it's because of all
mhm.
that goop is stuck there. So
Yeah.
every time you fluff, so to say,
Mm.
it is a terrible odor comes out because it's how
Mhm.
old all that
Well,
stuff is there.
it's the septic system of the body. We
Yeah.
need the septic system. We need
Hmm.
it to break down the final remnants of the food that we eat, but we need it to eliminate. We need to
Yeah.
pump. We need to pump it out. Just wanted to add in there, like as that when I'm doing a colonic, I'm not pulling anything out.
Right.
It's just the natural release and flow of water coming out. So we're not pumping you out
Yeah.
like a vacuum.
Sometimes I go, oh, just vacuum. It's okay. Save me the time.
Another that comes up when you mention older people, and it does become common. I've worked a lot with older people in care situations, and have known a lot of old people personally, and discussing the way one's bladder behaves or the way one's bowels behave is common. It's normal, and some of the the lack of being willing to talk about it, it disappears as we get older. We don't
Mm.
care as much about talking about it, and that's a good thing. And patients talk to their doctors all the time about, well, my bowels aren't working, everything's sluggish. We As we physically slow down, some of that is natural, and most of it is not, though, because it is that buildup, that toxic sludge, that continuous lack of real peristaltic action in the colon. It just becomes worse and worse and worse,
Hmm.
and that memory is gone and gone and gone about how to actually make that happen, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Hmm.
We can have fully functioning, beautifully healthy digestive systems, even into the hundreds, if that's how long we live.
Hmm.
It's just a
Hmm.
matter of knowing about it, knowing why, knowing how, and deciding that you're important enough to do that.
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's an interesting thing. It's so funny. When I started to do this, I did it just because someone offered me the opportunity. They said, "I'm going to set up a clinic. I'm going to bring in a colonics machine. Would you like to be the provider?" I didn't think for a second, and it just came through me. Yes. And I think because of how it does fill out the picture of working with oneself, helping others to see how they can flow and how they can release and how they can be open,
Hmm.
how we can get rid of the stagnancy on all levels that keep us from being. And it's just been a phenomenal experience for me, both through what's eliminated and also through what's discovered.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I discover all these beautiful people that I get to spend an hour with, learning about them, talking to them, finding out what matters to them. It's a beautiful thing for me. I wanted to tell one story about some of the things you see in a colonic. And I had a client who had had a series of colonics at different times in her life, but she was working with me for a little while. And one day, as we were watching the waste go through the waste tube, there was something bright blue and something bright green that drifted by. And I slowed down the flow so that we could look at it briefly. And instantly she knew what it was. And she said, when I was 5 years old, my sister made me eat crayons that were that color.
Oh, wow.
There they were. They came out. So that wax, that crayon, those bits and they were fairly big blobs, were lodged somewhere in her colon and stayed there for her whole life. She was in her mid 40s.
Oof.
So it's not just crayons that get stuck in your colon. That was a very graphic example because she knew when it happened and there it was being released.
Right.
But everything else gets stuck.
Hmm.
The microbes, the gunk, the pesticides. It's all there.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Well, our bodies, our skin is our largest organ. So it's just out there absorbing and just, you know, sucking anything up into our cells, and it's got to go somewhere. Our kidneys, our liver, our stomach, just goes through and through. And if we don't keep it clean,
Mhm. And all of those organs make deposits into the colon.
mm,
The colon is one of the final cleansing portions of our whole anatomy.
mm, mm,
And I'm not pretending to represent this perfectly, physiologically perfectly, but in essence, that's how it works.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Wow, that is magnificent. I mean, really, I do believe about taking away the fear for individuals to experience,
Hmm.
and really, I always say when you experience something new like this, you need to do at least three,
Hmm.
like a series of three, whether it be a week apart or something like that. At least three before you make a judgment on it, because it doesn't
Mm,
hurt. Yeah.
precisely.
and
Precisely.
and in the end, it's actually very good for you, right?
Yeah.
So now, do you have clients where while you are doing the colonics, you are actually able to do a reading on them or spiritual counseling? I mean, do you
Yes.
feel that you're able to be able to have more clarity seeing for them?
Definitely, most definitely. And I would say for some clients, they are aware of that's what's going on. Some are not. But being in close proximity with a person, and the way I do my particular treatments, I'm always holding the tube that puts the water in and allows the wastewater to come out. So I have a sense through the water, it gives me information as well as the other ways that I intuitively receive things. It gives me information about what's coming up for that individual. And I can often say to someone, "Oh, that was painful for you, wasn't it?" And they'll look over to me and they'll say, "What? You mean when my mother left?" And I'd say, "Yes." I mean, I'll say to them, "I felt that. I felt that where you were holding it. I felt that. I feel it as it's holding on to you,
Mhm,
and this is an opportunity to look into it a little bit further and to let it go as this water and this waste lets go."
mhm,
So yes, definitely. And as I'm sort of always one step ahead of an individual, in my care in terms of what's about to happen for them
mhm,
mentally, emotionally, what spiritually, what they're going to find, what is literally going to come out. And I prepare for it, and I prepare them by it's sometimes talking about it specifically if I know that they'll be receptive to that, or by just allowing them to have an oh as something happens or changes.
mhm.
People cry all the time because of the release that's going on.
Right.
Sometimes we talk about what it is, sometimes we don't. It doesn't matter. That just depends on who they are. And as I work with clients on an ongoing basis and do longer series or see them over a period of a year or two, we can go a lot more deeply into what's coming up for them.
Mhm.
And it's in that way that I can work with the water and ask it to do certain things for this individual and to give it instruction about what it can do for a certain individual. For me, this is a beautiful expression of nothing being isolated from anything else.
Mhm.
The atmosphere in the room that we're in is one of loving support, of comfort, it's sterile, but it's not sterile in its essence. It's not sterile in its feeling.
Mhm, mhm. Oh,
Mm.
how wonderful. And now, do you ever add anything to the water? Like a lot of times, I like to add essential oils or certain uh, drink or something, certain liquid into the water, for, especially for the final flush
Mhm.
or during to help with a certain release, whether it be emotional release or,
Mm.
just a release of the more toxins. Do you do that at all, Anatara?
The machine that I have is not set up for that.
Mm.
So what I'm using is just filtered water that's also gone through a UV light, so it's very clear, very clean. I have seen that kind of process in action,
Mhm.
and it's a wonderful thing. It's a gift of on so many different levels to get the essential oils, the essences into your colon so that they become part of your body.
Hmm.
And it's such a gift to offer what that has to be, what that can be in terms of release and absorption. The colon absorbs a lot. Um, Sometimes in some clinics, and I have done this at times, is after the colon is clean to use ozone therapy and to
Mm,
introduce ozone, which just brings oxygen into the body. It oxygenates not just the cells of the colon, but the whole body.
mm, mm, mm. Oh, that's interesting. So your clients go
Mm.
from the hydrotherapy into the ozone treatment.
Yeah, and it happens. They're all in the same place. They're all on the same table.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
Really wonderful.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. So as we're sort of coming to the top of our time here, Anatara,
Yeah.
um, what what can you share with our audience about, sort of like to cap it all out, or
Mm.
also to give them some tips if they've never experienced it, like how would they find someone, and
Sure.
the cautions that they would take?
Sure, sure. I believe that there are colon hydrotherapy practitioners almost everywhere. Especially in most big urban areas, and in any area that is, where there's a tendency towards awareness of personal responsibility for body health. A lot of naturopaths know about it. Other different kinds of practitioners know about it and will recommend it if they have someone that they know and trust. To me, colon hydrotherapy could be the primary treatment for any person looking for a greater sense of well-being to engage in. And when I say a greater sense of well-being, I mean both physically and emotionally and spiritually. It works with all of it. Um, it is impossible to be in these human lives without there being some sort of toxic buildup in our colons, and therefore and some sort of toxic buildup in our thoughts. So by doing this, we relax and release a lot of things. We're relaxing our opinions of who we are. We're relaxing our opinions of the boundaries that we have in terms of intimacy, physical intimacy. We're relaxing our willingness to look at our gunk. you know, we are allowing to say, yes, I'm full of crap and I want it out.
And believe me, there's none of us out here standing or sitting that is not full of crap.
Need to be full of crap. I mean, the system has to work. We have to eliminate what we take in, and we can extend that into the crap that's been building up for years and years and years. So if we look at colon hydrotherapy as a primary um, component of well-being, then the only thing that's keeping us from doing that is not the fact that we don't understand what it is, and the fear that it's weird, or that it will be uncomfortable, or that I'm going to be on a table with someone scooping out things from inside me, the waste that I usually like to deal with in private. So I think it changes a lot of our attitude and a lot of our awareness in those ways, as well as the fantastic health benefits it can give you, being the cleaning, the reduction of all the microbes that we carry, the ability to let the colon function so that it can absorb what it needs to and eliminate what it needs to. So I always encourage people to come and meet me. They talk to me on the phone, and some people sign up immediately, but I say, come into the clinic, come and see the room, make yourself comfortable with the space. Let me show you how the machine works, and then decide what you want to do. And so in the sort of interview process, me with a client with me, see that you feel that that person has your best interest in mind. See that you feel that the surroundings, if you see them, look sterile, look comfortable. Make sure you feel that you're going to be well supported and well held while you try this thing that so far seems like a strange idea. And make sure that you speak up with all of your fears about it, all of your apprehensions.
Mhm.
Don't come in with a you can if you want to, but you don't have to come in with a bright smile that says, "Oh, I'm cool, I'm fine, everything's going to be all right." Because if that's not true, your sphincter is going to be clamped tight shut. and you can always talk to other people that have had a treatment from this particular, this particular clinic. Basically what I'm saying is get a feel for it,
Hmm.
check it out, and vet it in any way that you want to, the clinic, the practitioner, all of it, and then go with it when you're ready.
Hmm.
And it is okay to push yourself a little bit into the idea, well, I'm really going to try this because I believe in it.
Right.
So is that answer your question enough?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I like the way you said, go to the office, feel it out. And or if you've made an appointment, be open to just saying no, not today. If you get a
Mhm.
strange sense or a feeling, because as you say, it's not worth it if you're going to be tight and uptight through the whole
Mhm.
thing. Even with that extended push that you might give yourself,
Mhm.
because it is, that individual's in a way breaking space. Though,
Hmm.
many that I've worked with actually, we ourselves as the individual patient or client is the person who inserts the tube,
Exactly. I
right?
was just I was just going to say that.
Right. So that once I found that out, I found, oh, really? Oh, it's not you. It's not like a doctor doing
Mhm.
it or a nurse doing it. You yourself. So you know the pressure to use, and all you're
Exactly.
doing is attaching the other end,
Exactly.
right? So you're actually not even physically inserting anything yourself as
Correct.
the practitioner. And the moment of touch is usually in the massage on the abdomen or the back to ease the tension. And
Hmm.
yes, so that part, I think a lot of people, that whole fear of, oh, somebody's going to stick something in me and it'll be uncomfortable. No, but
Mhm.
I do believe that with most practitioners, you, us as the individual client, is the one who is doing all that. And there's
It's
different
true.
sizes to choose from.
It's true. And it's there's a lot of privacy as well.
Hmm.
You're not lying there with your bum exposed. You're covered, you're draped. It's you don't have to make yourself be anything that you're really not.
Hmm.
And that you also relax with as the number of sessions goes on.
Right.
So you're right, and I'm so glad you mentioned the thing about the client doing the insertion, because I was just about to say that when you did.
Oh, I read your mind.
Oh, you did.
So that's wonderful, Anatara. I do believe that you've given everyone here in the community a really wonderful, broad view of what colon hydrotherapy is, a colonic is, and how it can help us in all these different realms. That's the
Exactly.
exciting part, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And as that emphasis that I was giving it about being the primary way to start almost any kind of healing, I mean that. I really mean
Mm.
it. I feel it. I see it. I sense it. So let's get brave, people.
Yes, yes. Between the different fasting and cleansing, this is just an
Uh-huh.
addition to it, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Anatara, for sharing your gifts with all of us here in the community.
You're so welcome. I feel like I've come out in some way.
Yeah. Well, now you can't stop because of, our bi-weekly show with you now. It's,
Exactly.
you're just going to flow with Yoga Hub.
Oh, we are flowing. Thanks, Christina.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anatara. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today. We invite you to join us live every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 1:30 Eastern Time for our magical medical tour with our wonderful medical guide, Dr. Glenn Woolman. And on Wednesdays here, Fraternity of Life from 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, followed every other week by our new show with Anatara, Flowing into Awareness. Remember, you can contact Anatara for intuitive readings, which she calls angel listenings, and spiritual counseling and hydrocolon therapy. You can contact her through myyogahub.com/Anatara or on Twitter at Anatara, Anatara, and of course through her own site, anatara.ca. Until next time, namaste.